Choosing the right opening to study can be a pretty daunting and difficult task, especially if you are a beginner. But don't worry, because in today's video, I have what I believe is the top 5 best openings with the white and a couple of openings with the black pieces for you to learn if you want to. Now, a quick word of warning. This video is made for beginners. If you are like 2000 watching the video, thank you for the support, but this might not be relevant for you at all. And second up, this is all based on my opinion. I am just giving you what I believe is the good. If at all your favorite opening is not on the list, if at all you disagree with me, it's absolutely fine. Use the goddamn comment sections and let me know if you have any queries. So let's keep it moving. Hey guys, welcome to IQchess. Hope you're having a fantastic day and thank you so much for joining me in this video. At number 5 spot with the white pieces, we have the Italian game. The game begins with e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and here we go for bishop to c4. Pretty simple. The reason why I believe it is good is because every move of yours has a specific purpose. Bishop to c4 attacks the weak f7 square. This could very easily translate into one of the most aggressive repertoires with the fried liver attack, and against the bishop to c5 lines, you can consider playing the events gambit. Both of these openings together will give you one of the, if not the most aggressive and challenging repertoires to face for a beginner with the black pieces. Alright, in the number 4 spot for me is against Sicilian defense with e4 c5. You play c3, entering into what is known as the Alapin variation. Now, the reason why the Alapin is so good is because people who play the Sicilian with the black pieces have absolutely zero idea what they are doing, especially at the beginner level. By far, the three most common moves here are d6, e6, and knight to c6. All of them lose on this spot. The only moves that survive are d5 and knight to f6, and even then, black will definitely feel uncomfortable playing these positions, so you can beat them if you know what they're doing. Alternatively, another opening in the same position for me is the Smith-Morra gambit, which can work in shorter time controls, but I don't really recommend them for longer matches. In the number 3 spot, we once again have a two-way tie between the Scotch and the Ponziani. The Scotch, as we know, begins with e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and here you go for the move of d4 immediately. This could translate into a lot of open and closed games. After black peaks, you can play the Scotch gambit with bishop to c4, try to castle, or play some Nachmanson gambit. Pretty aggressive and pretty dubious. Or alternatively, you can play the move of c3, preparing d4. And against this Ponziani, there are only two moves for black: knight to f6 and d5. Everything else is absolutely terrible. If d5, you can play the move of queen to a4, pretty tricky. Shout out to my recent video on the Ponziani opening. I will link it down below in the description if you want to check it out. Against knight to f6, you can learn d4 and sorry, d4 and so many gambit variations for you to study. Okay, at the number 1 spot, this is pretty obvious. I think a lot of people would have expected this. It is the London system. d4, and pretty much after anything for except for e5 or maybe c5, let's say d5, you play bishop to f4. Let's say black develops, you bring the knight out. All the three of these moves are focused specifically on the e5 square, fighting for the center and having a strong grasp. It's extremely principled. It's very hard to break. And then after this, you'll put a pawn here. You have brought the bishop out. You have a pawn wall. You continue with knight to d2, fighting for the e4 square now. If your opponent plays this, you go for bishop to d3. Once again, fighting for this square. As you can see, this is extremely solid, and you won't find a single individual in the entire planet who says they like to play against the London system. It absolutely sucks. The worst thing I can ever have when I'm trying to push up in the rating ladder is my opponent playing the London system. It's extremely irritating for me. So yeah, you can learn this and improve your rating in no time. So that was for the white pieces. What about the black? Well, it's pretty hard to save the black pieces because you have to adapt to what your opponent is playing. You cannot play the same stuff against e4, f4, I'm sorry, f4 and d4, for example. But in general, for e4, I believe the best openings are the Khan with c6, d4, and d5, and or the simple variation, which is the Scandinavian with immediate d5. Both of these openings play in the center, and they are pretty straightforward in learning. They are not too hard, but they are also very solid. If you learn them, this will carry you comfortably into the intermediate zone without any issues. You can also consider playing the space defense with d6 and g6, bishop on g7, maybe c6 into the checks, or play for e5 in the style of PS or King's Indian. Speaking of King's Indian, I do believe that against everything else, d4, c4, knight to f3, whatever it is, you can just simply stick with the King's Indian, knight to f6, for example, c4, g6, knight to c3, then to the bishop, play d6, super solid stuff. You get to a safe position, you develop, you play the center, you bring the rook, you bring the knight back, maybe play for f5, f4, and eventually go for an attack. This, in my opinion, is the best opening for the black pieces if you know what you're doing, especially at the beginner and intermediate levels, because it's very hard to play against these, believe it or not. Some other openings I would consider learning are hippopotamus defense, which is not a real opening in a way. In the way, it's not opening for the term of it. Rather, it's a setup. You begin with either this or this pawn, or maybe even d6 or e6. The point is, you take it of both the bishops. Like let's say like this. You take it of both the bishops. By the way, the hippo can be played with both the white and the black pieces. The idea is the same. You put the pawn on d6, and then on e6. Let's say white just make some random move. Like let's say white castles. Develop the knight. I'm just making random moves just to show you. You reach this position and then you follow it up with something like h6 and a6. This is one of the most challenging setups to attack because it's called as a hedgehog. You control every single square in front of you. If at any point white tries to break away, you close the goddamn center with d5. This could be an extremely good opening if you're trying to draw against high rated opponents. I have done it before. I recently drew a game in bullet apparently, but still doesn't matter, against someone who is rated 2800 on IQchess. Still, it's a respectable rating. That's around 2400 on chess.com, which is very good, to be honest. I was able to draw them because I played Hippo and I knew what I'm doing. So that would be my comprehensive list of the best openings for the white and the black pieces. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you can check out my channel for more such amazing videos. Subscribe to the channel, guys. It takes hardly a few seconds and it helps support the channel massively. And we are trying to hit 2000 subscribers within this year. It would be really amazing if you can do that. We are pretty close, just around 100 to go. I love you guys so much for watching these videos. Thank you so much for the support. We have reached around 800 subscribers within just the 6 months of uploading. Thank you and stay tuned. Bye.